Growing up on a small farm in rural Australia, I didn't have a big vision for my life. In fact, it extended a little beyond the back paddock of our small dairy farm. My father and mother both left school at 16. No one had gone to college in my family. And well and truly, I did not have people who were saying, you can do anything you want. My dad thought I would make a great mother, Margaret Mary, which was, in his world, a very noble and bold ambition, but it wasn't one that aligned with my own passion and talents and mission in the world. And you know, the biggest thing that I had to overcome in order to create a life that I love is to get past the voices in the back of my head saying, who are you to do that? Who are you to seek to write books and speak and create a life and travel the world and live a life that is so bigger than anything I could have imagined growing up on that small farm? I would love you to think about, where is a little voice in the back of your head, that little inner critic, keeping you from forging the boldest path in your life? Where does it tell you you're not enough? You're not smart enough. You're not networked enough. You're not educated enough. You're not experienced enough. You're not old enough. You're not young enough. You're not rich enough. You don't have enough time. You know, we all have those voices, and those voices aren't who we are. They are simply manifestations of our fear urging us to play it safe, to stick with the familiarity of the known, and to avoid putting ourselves out there and daring more boldly, because that's where we run the risk of falling short. I know if you're watching this now, you're someone who wants to live your life to the fullest. You don't want to look back one day and go, I wonder what I could have done. And we know that the biggest regret of the dying is that they risked too little and they lived too safe. And the reason they did that was because they let their inner critic, that doubting voice, that fear that's made real through those voices those stories we buy into, and those fears that we let sit in the driver's seat of our lives, that they run the show. So if you have a little inner critic that you know gets awfully noisy at times, as mine does, firstly, just accept it's never going away, you know, and it's easy to just beat up on it and go, shut up, you know, don't be that way. It's just your fear trying to keep you safe. So don't beat up on it. Instead, embrace it. Thank you very much. I know you're trying to keep me safe. I appreciate that. But you know, I need to do this because I am not willing to look back and wonder what if. I need to do this because my life is on the line here and my happiness is on the line. I need to do this because if self-doubt sits in the driver's seat, if that small voice of fear and cynicism and criticism and judgment decides what I do and what I say and who I'll be, I will never get to know who I'm capable of being, nor do what I'm capable of doing. So don't beat up on your inner critic. Don't berate it. Befriend it. Befriend it as a little voice trying to keep you safe, and then be very decisive and deliberate and bold in choosing the actions you take in its presence. Because here's the deal. What I know for sure is that when we step through our fear, when we take action despite the doubts and those little voices telling us, don't do it, you'll fail, you'll make a fool of yourself, what will people say? And I've had it countless times. That's when you discover that you really didn't need to be afraid, and that those voices in your head, they aren't you, they're the small you. As I wrote in my latest book, Make Your Mark, you know, those little voices, that's the small you. Don't let them keep you small. Step through into action despite them, and you will discover talents, potential, possibilities, opportunities beyond anything you can imagine. I know this to be true. I've lived this to be true. I walk this talk daily. Believe me, those voices are going, and I want the same for you. Take care.